Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin.Review podcast. The podcast where we fail at boringly reading the latest release notes and discuss project updates. The drama in Bitcoin space will never go away, so we'll likely fail at being boring, but we'll try to be informative. That is the goal. Today I have some of the usual guests, but also a great new visit here. So let me introduce some of the folks that will be with us today. Nifty, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hello. Hey, everyone. I'm Nifty. I work at Blockstream on Core Lightning. Super happy to be hanging out today on the Bitcoin.Review.
She's a C developer, so respect. Livera.
Hey, NVK and everyone else. I'm happy to be back on the show with you guys.
And our favorite guest, Matt Odell.
What's up, guys? Long-term co-host of the Bitcoin.Review podcast.
We should cut that part. So, guys, how have everyone been? It's been a few days. I recorded with Matt yesterday. Haven't seen you, Nifty, in a while in conferences and things. Same for you, Livera.
Yeah, I've been traveling around a lot. There was Bitcoin Amsterdam. I was in Prague for this other one, and then just recently in Lugano for the Plan B forum. So that's what I've been up to recently. Lisa.
Yeah, I've also been traveling. I was in Atlanta for TabConf a few weeks ago, which was awesome. Super great conference. I'm actually in Italy right now for a Lightning hackathon, following up after the Lugano stuff. It's been super great. Really great presentations going on. And then next week, I'm going to be in Sao Paulo for SatsConf and then La BitConf in Argentina. So super excited about being in Brazil again.
Just in time for Lula.
Yeah, exactly. Lula de novo, vamos lá, Juliana.
So, guys, a little bit of housekeeping here. Make sure to submit your deals to bitcoinblackfriday.org. The date is coming soon, and we try to create a site where a lot of Bitcoin projects can put their deals there and get some visibility. We recorded an awesome episode yesterday about UX, UI with people who actually know what they're talking about. Stephen, Mo work at Bitcoin Design Group, Pedro, and our best guest Odell was also there. It was a lot of fun. It was a good episode. I think people will enjoy it. And then lastly, we're gonna rug pull the lazy ride or die Citadel Dispatch listeners. We're gonna only syndicate this on our feed. See if the lazy asses will subscribe to a new feed.
Whoa. There's not a single lazy ride or die Citadel Dispatch listener. Let the record show.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out if we get them to actually subscribe. But in seriousness, I really, really, really grateful that you've syndicated the pod on Citadel Dispatch feed and got us a bit of visibility.
Yeah, and to be clear here, if NVK acts out of line, I have full intention of forking this podcast, and he doesn't have really a great history with rival forks, so we'll see how that results in our friendship.
Well, the good thing is I do have a good history of domains, and it's going to be hard for you to beat Bitcoin.Review.
Well, Odell is a known domain squatter himself, so
he's an amateur.
Yeah, I'm a no corner in comparison to his stash. He makes me look like a responsible domain holder.
He's putting the sats in the right place, which is in the code card, not in domains. But we all have a vice. Some of us is getting domains. All right, guys. So why don't we start with the list? The list is very reasonably sized today. We have a long episode, so I hope you listening out there have good batteries on your headphones. So Specter DIY 1.8.0, October 16th. Build process is now reproducible. Well, that's nice. Now supports Taproot specific PSBT fields. I'm seeing this more and more on other wallets. It's nice to see PSBT grow. I think that you should shame any wallet that doesn't support PSBTs or that has reproducible builds. I look forward to adding the Specter DIY to Bitcoin.Binary.org. Fiat Jeff took some interest on Bitcoin.Binary.org. I hope we see more people because I don't like messing with other people's projects, and two, I don't have the time for it. So I hope we can find the right resources to keep the site updated. It's pretty cool. Also, Specter DIY was purchased by Swan as well, right? Was part of the acquisition, came with that.
Yeah, so the purchase was of Specter Solutions. So
the whole thing. You get the domain. That's an expensive way of getting a domain. Nunchuk, 1.9.15, October 23rd. Primary key accounts. Use Bitcoin private key to log in. Now available in all platforms. That's really nice. That was my request way back then. So we don't need emails. Screw accounts. Multi-party, multi-sig architecture published. So they are making things more open. Health checks now work, I think, cross-board. Cold card NFC health check. That was a request by Nunchuk to us. We did that for him. Custom BIP32 paths. That was my request as well. I've been trying to reconstitute some wallets in like a decent phone wallet to either sweep things or help a few folks around. So that's super useful. So you can edit the path in the actual app. I've tested it and it's like works great. Jade support and a brand new logo. Their logo does look nice. It's a lot more grown up. Do you guys use Nunchuk yet?
I've played around with it. Yeah, but not recent. I haven't tried this new update, but I'll when I get a chance, I will.
MVK, I mean, you're close with Hugo. Do you know what their plan is in terms of opening up the source, at least making a source viewable, let alone reproducible?
So Hugo has no issues with like open source itself or source verifiable itself. The main concern is fake wallets on Android specifically. So it's very easy for somebody to just, clone the source and then publish the fake wallet. And I don't think they have the resources to hunt the fake wallets. So they're trying to figure out the best way of going about it. They do, as far as I understand, want and like the idea of being source verifiable. I don't think they have picked, one, a license, and two, figure out what they want to do in regards, because it really is just a shell of the app, right? That's closed. It's not that the real meat of the project is open source, but that doesn't mean anything because you can't check that the app is running the meat of it. But really, like the majority of the stuff that matters is open. It's on GitHub. So anyways, it's, the usual wallet struggles with licenses and security and clones and things. So, Hugo has the heart in the right place. So I'm sure he'll come up with something that works for everyone. And maybe competition will force his hand too, right? I mean, maybe something good comes out there that it is verifiable, that has, like even just 30% of the features that he has that might, take some market and maybe push people that way. But it's hard to find a phone wallet that is of this caliber on the internals, right? Like this is all native C++ in all the platforms. There is no 50 layers of JavaScript serializing and decentralizing your private key in memory while TikTok is sending all your private keys to China. So, the usual struggles. Yeah,
and Twitter is sending all your private keys to the US.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I want to pick my torturer, they are not equal. Anyways, Nifty, feel free to jump in if you have opinions about things. It's
kind of free for all. Yeah.
We would love to have your opinion on anything you'd like to have an opinion on.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I've used Nunchuk once. I think adding the BIP32, custom BIP32 things is like a big thing for me personally. So I think like the last time I tried using it, which is like a few months ago. So I was really excited about their like chat thing to do multi-sig stuff, but like the lack of some like the BIP32 support, and like I had some trouble figuring out how to like import different keys in like non-standard ways. I feel like they had a really standard way of doing things. Seems like this release they've like kind of relaxed some of that stuff and changed it up. So super exciting that they're like, you know, Jade hardware support's great to see, new logo, custom pass. Like these all look like awesome updates. So maybe I should give it another try.
Yeah, it's the lack of BIP32 used to be a problem for me as well. That's why I kept on, being a little intense on his DMs. I think a lot of wallet maker guys probably can't wait to see a DM from NVK asking for a feature. It's like, can this guy please go away from my DMs?
Yeah.
Anyways.
But this is like such a big one for me, man, around wallets. Like, I don't want to get too off topic, but like the custom 30 BIP32 support stuff is just like, anyways. And maybe hopefully I've got the right.
Yeah, no. Hugo was super receptive to this. I'm just teasing, but like, yeah, I don't, unfortunately, as like the way BIP32, BIP39, really 124. So the way things developed in how wallets derive things and the way things found like pseudo standards, which are really non-standard in many cases, really requires you to be able to input these things when you need. It's always the struggle, right? Like you want to make it easy for the user and hide a lot of this stuff. But you do need to have it in there buried somewhere, because you will find yourself in a position where you must like change the path. Otherwise, where's my money?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Wasabi Wallet version 2.0.2. Tor latency optimization for more frequent coin join. New privacy progress indicator. Improvements on anonymity scoring. Minor UI improvements, numerous bug fixes, stability improvements. I mean, I don't want to get into the coin join drama, but
You always say that, but you do
but
it.
I can't help it because
it's unavoidable in some ways. It's kind of unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. It really is.
I mean, you add it to the list.
No, I had to, because you know what? They're trying to build decent software. They have made some trade-offs that I don't agree with, right? But there is people out there who may. It's not like they're actively like being bad actors. It's just that they're making compromises that a lot of people don't like. But they, like for example, with that address reuse stuff, like it's not true, right? I mean, they were not doing address reuse. Somebody, either used the wallet wrong. You could claim that's bad UX or whatever.
I mean, some of the address reuse is Wasabi 1.0, but there's at least one time where there was an input and output shared in Wasabi 2.0 that Max, the CEO, acknowledged like 2 days ago.
Yeah, no, I'm not like...
And he had a really weird answer. He had a really weird answer where he said, oh, we fixed that, but also separately said this is the first time he saw that.
Right.
So that was really odd. First of all, if we're going to have it on the list, the number one thing is they are sending inputs to change surveillance company that they are paying.
Yes.
This is not a controversial statement. I've seen some influential people in the space say we don't know, we need confirmation. We've literally heard it from the co-founder. They have a blog post stating it on their company website that they're doing it. I've talked to Max personally, and he's admitted to me that they're doing it.
It's public.
It's a fact that they are doing that with the default coordinator.
Yeah.
And I respect the concept that people can use another coordinator, but I would like to see in the software a very easy way for people to switch to the default coordinator. And I would like to see a little bit more work on making it easy for people to run their own coordinators.
I agree.
Yeah, right.
Neither of those we've seen. So it's mostly lip service when I hear that, and it's not easy to change the defaults or run a competing coordinator.
Well, I agree.
The second
it's
thing
the same.
is, on the positive note, they were using Onion services for their Tor communication to the coordinator. Onion services are not like a priority by the Tor team. Like I was talking to Tor, the main guy at funding, and they're trying to raise money for 2 dedicated developers to focus on Onion services. This is when you don't leave the Tor network and you don't go to the ClearNet. You're just within the Tor network. So they're trying to get 2 developers that are full-time on that at the Tor Foundation. He's trying to raise right now. If you're a company that relies on Tor, consider reaching out to me. I can put you in touch with him. They are looking for a budget for 2 devs. So this fix, what they did is essentially the user is still using Tor. but they're connecting to the coordinator via ClearNet. So they're going through an exit node on Tor to get to there, and it has made it significantly more reliable. So they are getting a lot more coin joins now, coin join rounds as a result. So that temporary fix has helped a lot. And they added this like progress bar or privacy that shows like your individual UTXOs in the wallet and, you know, what their projected, they call it a privacy score, but kind of derivation of anonymity set is per UTXO. And I will say that it's a really cool way of displaying the UTXOs in a wallet, because that's a very confusing concept for people. And off of our design conversation that we just had, it's a very intriguing way of displaying it. You like click it, there's like a circle, it shows you all the different UTXOs.
Yeah, it's
thank you, MBK.
Hey, collaborative transactions, as Matt likes to call it. I think I've came to the realization yesterday that the problem is the incentives are terrible. The incentive set on these things is for the coordinators to push their coordination so they make a fee. So that means it's in their interest to send back other implementations. So like it creates a yucky kind of like incentive set. And the incentive should be to go towards decentralized coordination, but there is no incentive for that because then people don't make money. I'm not saying that people don't want to do that or they're doing this maliciously. I'm just saying those are the incentives that exist, right? Which is unfortunate. Anyways, hopefully we get more privacy and more reliability, and maybe on Lightning, and then some of the stuff goes away. Who knows? Right. Sparrow 1.7.0 Sparrow terminal for servers, Linux ARC64 support, server aliases and switching servers via tools menu, cancel unconfirmed transactions via RBF. I really, really love the new UI, the interactive command line UI that they put out. It's like, it touches nerds in the right place. It's like, it really is like, like going from VI to Sparrow, like, without changing the window. I mean, like, this is just like amazing. I mean, it really is. You can connect to your box, via SSH and see your Sparrow UI. I think there's very few things that are as satisfying as a proper interactive command line interface. Love it.
Yeah. So well done to them on that. And I think
to them, it's literally just Craig.
Well, yeah, Craig. I'm sure there are some contributors on the Sparrow team also. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of known to be mostly Craig's thing. But the cancel unconfirmed transactions via RBF one is maybe also interesting and slightly controversial too, because there's been some discussion recently on the mailing list about, people who are watching might have seen the back and forth. People like Sergey were chatting about how he uses it with Bitrefill. And then there was Peter Todd going back and saying, no, we want, trying to push the full RBF. I'm not fully intimately aware with every little trade-off around this discussion and the pinning stuff as well. But part of the discussion from what I saw was this notion that, if it's really easy to so-called cancel your unconfirmed transactions with RBF, then, does that put into question the ability for people to use zero confirmation? Now, of course... No,
zero confirmation is not Bitcoin. It's idiotic.
Of course. I mean, that's the purest answer. Zero conf is not secure.
Peter Todd himself has scammed Coinbase out of coins with double spend. So, like, I don't know where he's coming from with this. This was probably like 2014, 2016?
No, isn't Peter's on the Pro full RBF train?
Probably. I can't imagine he wouldn't.
Yeah, because he put in the original RBF.
Yeah, he's definitely a Pro.
Yeah.
He's always been. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, anybody who has some basic understanding of this would agree. I mean, and even Dario is cool with it. Like, he understands. It's just that they were already working on fixing this in like how they implemented so that, it's not vulnerable to zero conf. It was already in the roadmap. It's just, it wasn't a priority, right? So this is just going to accelerate that.
Man, I gotta say though, like,
what's interesting about Sparrow?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, so the Sparrow thing though, they call it cancel transaction, but that's not actually what you're doing. You are re-spending money. You're like you're like, I guess like the thing with a cancel transaction is I assume that means I wouldn't have to spend any money. But when you RBF something to cancel it, you're creating a new transaction, you're paying more in fees by design. Like there's no situation you're going to be paying less in fees to make that happen. So you're like spending it back into your own wallet, right? Like it's not actually cancellation. You're just like outbidding yourself and it costs money.
The button should say commit fraud.
Yeah.
But like, think about it this way, right? I'm just trying to think of a service that you can pay midway to go faster. I wish airplanes worked like that. But like, actually you can, right? Like when you take a toll road instead of like a public road to get somewhere, right? Because there's less traffic in the toll road version. So like, I think people get complacent in low fee environments. They forget that like you could have a transaction that actually matters to you. Like, it could be a big deal for your business that's stuck. And you don't want to actually perform a double spend because you could screw yourself too if you're not like very, very, very knowledgeable and competent with the command line. There's no UI wallets out there that I know that do double spends. So, what I love about RBF is that RBF is a soft convention or kind of like a uniformization of something, a behavior that the network already allows, right? So essentially it's just packaging a little bit better so that everybody can do it and everybody can do it without getting like screwed.
Yeah. I guess my whole thing with this is just that like, okay, so I can tell you exactly where my like whole thing about this paying to cancel is coming from. And that's that people on one thing that I like on Ethereum, like you could pay for a transaction and it not go through and you still end up paying the fees, if that makes sense. And people would always be like, oh, like Ethereum, you gotta like pay for canceled transactions. And now we're like building it into like these Bitcoin UIs, like wallet UIs where it's like pay to cancel. And I'm like, I thought, I had a lot of fun making fun of Ethereum for that. And now we're like bringing it into like Bitcoin UIs. And I have some strong like negative feelings about the fact that I used to make fun of people for something is something that we're doing now in Bitcoin. So like I understand kind of where it's coming from. I guess this is more of a me problem with like, maybe I shouldn't have made fun of Ethereum for that. So I have some regret or whatever.
No, you should always make fun of Ethereum. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
even
Lisa.
if it's a hypocrite, even if you're being a hypocrite, it's still worth making fun of Ethereum. That's just a rule of life.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think that's like, I don't like feeling like a hypocrite. I really don't like that feeling. So like, I'm like, oh guys, I can't call it cancel transaction because it's like, then you got to pay and then you're like paying to cancel transactions and it looks the same as the ETH thing. So, I mean, maybe we should call it something else like commit fraud. That sounds great. Pay to commit fraud. I'm into that. Like
fraud button.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like pay to go faster. Boost.
But it's not pay to go fast. So
no, I know.
So Craig borrowed this. Presumably, Craig borrowed this from Blue Wallet, which already had a cancel transaction button, and they also had a boost transaction button. Mm-hmm. And so their experience with their users was that those were kind of intuitive because even though you're not really canceling the transaction, the end result's the same. I sent a transaction, but I don't want to send it anymore. I'm willing to pay a little bit to make sure it's in my wallet.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the big issue that they've had on Blue Wallet side is people press cancel and the RBF transaction doesn't get confirmed first. The original does. So their transaction doesn't get canceled. So it becomes a UI mess, which Sparrow shouldn't have because it's power users.
So what you want is a maybe cancel transaction. It's going to make a very small button. Maybe cancel my transaction or maybe make my transaction go faster.
Hail Mary, the Hail Mary button.
Yeah, the Hail Mary. I think this is my whole thing with the cancel. I think this is such a I feel like, it's a PC argument, but it's more important than that, y'all. Calling it cancel is a promise you can't keep. So maybe we shouldn't advertise that as a promise. I don't know. Anyways, so I have mixed emotions about what we're calling it. I think the functionality, don't get me wrong, functionality is dope, super great. I'm glad they added it, but maybe there's a different way we could term it.
If we get back to a high fee environment, cancel is very accurate because, if you have a low fee transaction, it really is going to sit in there. It might even be dropped from the mempool, right? Yeah. So it's maybe we change the UI based on the fee environment.
Yeah, but if it's a high fee environment, you won't have to push a button to cancel it. It'll actually just be more expensive to push the button, right? Whereas if you like just did nothing, it would like...
I do run a node that just doesn't drop transactions from the mempool because I want to do 1 sat byte transactions, even in a high fee environment. So I keep them for a month if I have to.
You're the second person I know that does this. So like, yeah.
No, I refuse to pay because I know it's going to go through eventually. I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah. You're second person I know that does this, who's also like hacked their like mempool to like rebroadcast transactions right before they fall out.
Yeah, that's the way. It's a 1 sat byte or die. And I really think it's time to lower that minimum too, eh? I think we're getting there. Oh, and I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention about Sparrow that's interesting is I think a lot of open source people don't like, or open source, let's call it enthusiasts or fans don't know, is that a lot of open source is single source open source. So, because I've seen guys like that Vlad guy, or a few people made fun of Coldcard a while back because, look, so few people are writing the code. I'm like, yeah, that's a feature, not a bug. You want, a few gray beards like writing most of the code and being sort of like, really mostly a single source of all the code of a library or a project. And it's cool to see some of the people who used to make fun of that now liking it, or being confused about it with Sparrow because it fits the narrative. But anyways, it's just fascinating. I love to see that people recognize that a lot of software is written by, single human plowing through it. Tempo OS for the win.
I asked Craig in Miami, like everyone in like the Bitcoin magazine team and stuff, they like get super excited about Saylor coming to speak or Bukele coming to speak, but I was super excited about getting Craig Roth for the open source stage. And I got to meet Craig in person and I asked him, I was like, do you need my help getting more contributors for Sparrow? And he's like, please, no, I don't want to deal with it. I just want...
Oh, dude, I hanged out to him quite a bit there alone. And we talked a lot about that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, anybody who's very passionate about their library or their project, like oftentimes does not want anybody else to contribute. It's like, please find bugs, please help me. But like, it's my vision, my code. I want to like ship this. Is that how you feel, Nifty? Do you prefer working as a lone wolf coder on your own library and fuck everybody else who's trying to give me opinions or feedback? Or do you prefer more people participating in the vision or the actual code?
I feel like, I love vision. I love visions. Visions are great, but I am such an introvert, y'all. I like, if I have to work with more than like one person on a thing, sometimes I feel like if I have to work with more than myself on a thing, it's not going to happen. I don't know. Coordination's hard. Coordination is like a hard problem.
That's the correct sentiment.
You add like 2 more people on a project and all of a sudden the amount of work you have to do, I want to say doubles, because all of a sudden you got to like coordinate and talk and figure out who's doing what. And like, there's just like all this extra, like, I don't know, what do they call it? Like the administrative overhead, whatever. It like goes up really fast the more people you add to a project. So, I mean, it sucks. Like I've been doing this thing on Core Lightning, like one-on-ones, trying to get people to like fix bugs or like get started working at hacking on Core Lightning, just as like I don't know, it's like fun to like get people on board and like get them doing stuff. But like, on the other hand, I also know that at some point that might mean more work for me in terms of pull requests. So I'm like very of two minds of this whole like outreach project, I have to say. So
yeah, no, it's collaborating things that are as personal as text or logic it's hard. All right. So LND version 0.15.3 beta October 17 fixes a series of bugs related to fee estimation with taproot inputs, and bug fixes to ensure new channels are always properly announced. Fixes an edge case related to zero confirmation channels. And I'm not sure yet, but we're going to find out very soon if this version still probably has not fixed the new vulnerability.
No, they released a hotfix today.
The new one is 15.4 for the new hotfix.
0.4?
/beta, yeah.
There you go. So a second critical LND bug in less than a month caused LND nodes to fall out of sync with chain again. This was Burak who released this. Apparently it was already responsibly disclosed before, although unclear I haven't followed too much yet because it kind of just happened today. Only impacts LND nodes. Other Lightning implementations are still in sync. Nodes can still make route payments, but are not aware of current chain state. Nodes that do not update will be vulnerable to malicious blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read this, kind of pointless. We have a proper expert
Wait, you
here.
left out the best part.
Oh, yeah. Anthony claims he disclosed the bug to LND devs 2 weeks ago.
No. Barack's op return in the transaction was you'll run CLN and you'll be happy.
Why?
I can see how that might cause a little bit of unwanted love back.
Drama.
Yeah, I mean,
Lots of
it's more polite than fucking VK to remove Open Dime from Sunrise. So. At least I appreciate the tone is a little bit nicer.
It was very polite, I guess. I don't know. If you run LND, you should go update your node.
Do you want to explain to us, a little bit about this bug, and how, it breaks things, and just give us a primer on this?
Yeah, so this one is it is related. It is a similar class of bug to the last one that happened a few weeks ago, right? So, basically, man, people keep calling all right, sorry, I don't, okay. So what's happening is that they have this thing called a wire parsing library, right? And I might get this slightly wrong, but I think my general direction is correct. So if someone knows better than me, you should definitely correct me. But my general understanding is they have this thing called a wire parsing library, whatever. What that means is you get a big, blob of data off the wire and you parse it into a block that your program can understand and make decisions off of, right? It's just this piece of software that reads data, maybe that data's junk, whatever, off the wire, and then says, okay, this is a block piece of software, and then your software has all the data kind of split up into what the transactions are, etc., and it can do stuff with it, right? So BTCD has this wire parsing library that when they read data off, they kind of are oh, this particular piece of data is a block. Because it's a block or a transaction in a block. I might have that slightly wrong. Again, details I'm going to get a little wrong here, so it's fine. But I think the general gist is going to be good. So it reads in a block and it's okay, I'm going to read out the script, I'm reading out all the transactions. Every transaction has a script field, right? With all the scripts in it, witness data. It has all the witness data in it. This is an example, right? And it says, okay, I just got this data off the wire. How many bytes of data? Because, when you're reading data off the wire, you don't know how many bytes you're going to read in, right? So as an application dev, you make some limit on how many bytes you're going to allow it to read off the wire before you throw up and say, okay, this is no good, right? So in BTCD, whoever designed this library decided that the limit of how much they would read off the wire before they decided it was bad was going to be the same as the consensus numbers, right? So when the consensus numbers changed from I don't know, you can read 10,000 bytes into a script thing or whatever. I don't know. Again, details are not my strong suit here, but let's say they said it was 10,000 and that was true for everything but through Taproot. So when you had a transaction, you read in 10,000 bytes. If you read more than that, they would just be this is invalid and throw it away. And that would be the end of it. Right. But Taproot changed things, the rules changed, how much data it was you could read in before it was invalid, completely doubled or tripled or quadrupled or is as big as a block or whatever, right? It's a big number, right? So the fact that so basically in software development, you call it the separation of concerns, where you take the things that are okay, in order to be in consensus, it can't be more than 10,000 bytes. And you put that in a particular piece of the code that just looks at consensus projects, right? And then you would have a separate thing that's your wire parsing stuff. And then the limits you would use for the wire parser. And I've been meaning to go check in Core Lightning, but I'm lazy and have not done this. But typically it's just you just make sure you don't overflow the amount of memory on your machine, right? You read in as much or whatever. It's Core Lightning kind of just assumes that if you're giving us blocks, you as the person running Core Lightning have picked your block supplier and you trust that your block supplier has already verified how consensus compatible any of the data it's getting, right? So we're just okay, we'll read in 100, I don't know, give us like 10 megabytes of data. And as long as you don't overflow like 10 megabytes of data, like whatever, we'll use it. It came from the block source. That's great. Whatever, right? It's like a wire parsing code. Whereas it sounds like in BTCD, they actually took these parameters that are like actually consensus numbers and put them into wire parsing as like, if you read more than this amount of data, like stop, right? And so the problem is that they update their consensus code in BTCD, but they didn't update their wire parsing code. And there were a couple of places they used these like constants. They're basically like basic parameters, right? The parameters are out of date. They were pre-Taproot. They updated the consensus code. They didn't update their wire parsing code. So now their wire parsing code is like falling over on stuff that is no longer underneath those like limits that used to be like real or whatever, right? So yeah.
So like, I mean, like two minds on this. So what people like, when we have big changes to Bitcoin, right? Like adding multi-sig, so P2SH back then, changing to SegWit, adding Taproot. There is a reason why wallet devs that are serious don't add the new features for a long time, because, you can cause people to lose money. It's kind of a big deal. And consensus seems simple on paper sometimes. But when it comes to actual implementation and where it could break, things get hairy very fast.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that they didn't have to change anything. I think BTCD was written with the old worldview in mind, right? And even if they hadn't changed anything, the old worldview is no longer correct. Like as soon as Barack puts those transactions out there, the old worldview of the old BTC, like the things the BTCD assumed about the world are no longer true as soon as Barack put those transactions in blocks, right? And so whether or not they had like tried to update to Taproot or not, and my understanding is like completely separate from like this problem.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gracefully, handling Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because like SegWit and Taproot, both of them are backwards compatible. So like if you have old nodes, they correctly ignore those extra pieces of data, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise Bitcoin would fork. So it seems that BTCD is not really doing that. I mean, it really goes to show like why it's not a great idea to have other implementations of the node software. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's one huge part is this, right? Like, because the protocol and the standard is the software, right? This is not very common in other specs, right? Like when you have other kinds of protocols, they're very well you have a spec document that describes how you talk in the network, right? But in Bitcoin, a lot of that is the actual software itself. I don't even think there is a good way of just simply documenting everything and like somebody can just go and write a new node, right? It'll probably break.
I think that's right.
I think Barack nailed it on his tweet, which was, sometimes to find the light, we must first touch the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like but listen, I've been victim before of like non-responsible disclosures. So has PSBT. Remember when I forget Hashid, that kid like released like a bug on
Salim, right?
Rashid Salim.
I think it was like on SegWit that affected PSBT. I can't remember anymore, but it broke a bunch of stuff, right? And I really wish the industry went and like did proper CVSs, right? So like you go and you make a common vulnerability report that goes like, there's a whole standard in industry for this. It is, to me, the correct way. However, in this case, if you're putting out a valid transaction, man, that's fair game.
I mean, okay, but the thing that Barack did today is like this transaction that he put out is not relayable. It's a non-relayable transaction. He actually had to go out of his way to find a miner that he could submit a non-standard, non-mempool relayable transaction to. And like, I mean, he paid them like $600 to do it. He like fair and square to like bribe the shit out of like the miner to like include this non-standard transaction in a block, right? So he definitely like paid for it.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's Bitcoin environment. Yeah. Anyone can do that. And if the transaction is valid, like that's
it's a valid transaction. Yeah. Yeah. It sucks. I mean, and I think like, and I think like the shitty thing is like, that LND has this like, or not LND, BTCD, let's be like fair, right? This is a BTCD bug. BTCD has this thing, you manage to find one exploit, he goes looking for another one and he finds it, he figures out how to like break it. It's like the same class of bug as the last one, right? It's like a similar parameter in BTCD that didn't get updated. Figured out how to like exploit it, and then he did it. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, you should have told someone. I'm like, I think Anthony Towns said he told them a few weeks ago. They decided it was a non-standard thing, was the only way to break it, so they weren't going to do it. And so like someone went and then figured out a way to do it anyway. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. It sucks. I don't know.
I mean, if they made a decision knowingly, because, listen, it could be something that's a little bit off, or you may have like miscommunication. But what you normally do as a security company is you say to like, and we're busy with a bunch of stuff, right? Like I have literally a world of shit to deal with, right? So when a security researcher sort of like reports something, we assess is this an immediate threat to users, right? If it is, then we drop everything and this is what we dive on. Is this just like a bug that could break the device or whatever? Mm-hmm. Then we ask the researcher, hey, listen, we need time, right? Sometimes the bugs are not obvious. Sometimes the researcher doesn't even know how bad it could be. He just thinks it's a tiny thing, or sometimes it's the opposite. Security researchers, especially young ones, they think they discovered a portal to the interior of the earth, right? And then you explain, right? Like, it's like, no, it's not that simple, like, there's a lot of things involved in this. It's not realistic in the real world. And then they might get angry as well that you're not sort of like, respecting how big they think the thing is. So it's a very complicated dynamic with security researchers.
Yeah.
But
and I'll just add in here, you can see Recipe just tweeted about an hour ago. He did publicly tweet saying AJ Towns did contact him, making an issue on the public fork of BTCD. The post was public, so he deleted it, then followed up with email. He's saying they had a patch ready to go for the minor release. But
why did they delete the issue?
I think he wanted to not have it publicly available so that other people would know and do it, like exploit it.
It's totally plausible that Barak found this independently of AJ, right? They both went looking for bugs in code they knew had problems previously. Barak found it and decided to like exploit it. AJ Towns found it and decided to report it, right? Like,
Lightning is new, right? And is fucking complicated. So like, and there is a lot of implementations, and I feel like the industry of Lightning is still sort of sorting out how to, because, everybody loves, like, whenever people talk about the competition, I always think of that meme with like the guy crying inside, but like there's a smile on the outside mask. Like, everybody pretends that they, want to love the competitor and like, it's all cute and dandy, but like, it's not true. People are competitive and, there's going to be bad blood. There's going to be some drama. There's going to be a lot of that. So by the nature of Lightning being something that interconnects with other companies, I think you're going to still see a lot more drama until it stabilizes as a technology, right? I mean, the wallets went through that. It used to be left, right, and center that you have like competitors trying to break each other's shit and pretend that they do this responsible disclosures, right? There was a lot of non-responsible disclosures. But this but now seems to be fairly sort of reasonable on how the wallets sort of relate to each other, except the CoinJoin stuff. And but it's all about like maturing, stabilizing, and sort of like, there's no more so many low-hanging fruits for the sort of less experienced researchers to find. And, it's just, you get there, but I don't think you can escape the drama. It's like, I really don't think.
But then in this case, I mean, I see some people, I guess that's the argument, right? Because this came just off the back of that other bug that just recently they had to do another hotfix for. Yeah. And so then the question is, and maybe it's not clear either way, but the question is, at the time that AJ Towns disclosed, should there have been another hotfix and a quick everyone upgrade to this new patch? Or is it reasonable to say, you know what, actually, let's wait for the next minor release and the patch would just be contained inside of that, and so that the community didn't have to get alarmed about it?
But they couldn't, because it literally stopped half the LND nodes, right? And people could get robbed.
No, he means when it was originally disclosed. He doesn't mean after Barak triggered it.
Yeah.
I think if there was clear communication from the maintainer saying, hey, this is being worked on, or, thank you for your submission. Somebody already submitted. I'm working on a fix. There would have been less chances of Barak.
But I think in this case, I don't know if Barak actually disclosed anything to them. I think Barak just kind of put it out there in the wild, right?
No, Anthony says it was disclosed.
No, AJ Towns was the one who disclosed it, and that was 2 weeks ago.
AJ told them.
Oh.
I don't know.
We will never know.
To be clear here, the first time Barak did his oops transaction and took down all the LND nodes, I think that was by accident. I think he was just having fun.
Right. Yeah.
With what he could do with Bitcoin. And it was an edge case that he didn't expect. This one, because of the op return,
it's clear that he knew exactly what it would do.
Yeah. He was going to trigger this bug. I will say he needed a miner to mine it, and Blockstream has a massive mining operation, but instead he used F2 pool to do it. So there is some distance there.
Yeah, but Barak is not an employee of Blockstream either, right? Like, he's just funded.
Yeah, why are we even getting pulled into this? Like, this is the whole thing that I guess it's because he put CLN in that op return, isn't it? Like, if he hadn't done that.
It's because you're lizard people.
I'm clearly, like, I don't know, pull my lizard suit out of the closet. Actually, I don't even know if they sent me one when I started. These things don't keep well in Texas.
Well, does he have? Is he not getting funded by Blockstream right now for the BitMatrix project?
Dude, I don't think so.
No, Adam came out saying he's not funded by Blockstream. I think people are confusing it because I think he's done some liquid research, but he's not funded by Blockstream.
Well, no, BitMatrix, his for-profit project is built on top of Liquid. It's basically Uniswap on top of Liquid.
Yeah.
Right, but the question is Blockstream paying him? And I think the answer to that is no.
Yeah. They paid him in Liquid tokens, so it's confidential transactions. You can't.
Yeah. I think and so I had some tweets where I thought that Blockstream had invested in BitMatrix or had sponsored BitMatrix in some way. And Adam was telling me that was not true. So I was going to issue a correction, but I was just kind of going to wait until some of the stuff went down because I don't know. Part of my thing is I guess the fact that he put the core Lightning thing in there is I guess that does look pretty bad for us, which sucks.
But I am very biased on this one. If there is a C implementation, that's the one you should send people to of anything, really. So, you're already winning there by just brand.
But here's my thing, okay, if Blockstream did sponsor him, does that make it, I guess my whole thing is, I'm not going to throw Barak under the bus for this. I think, maybe there were, way better ways he could have let them know about it. He didn't do that. That sucks a lot. But, I'm not going to come out and be that's, no one should be doing that. I just, he figured out something he could do and he did it. And, that sucks. I might have been caught flat with there's a reasonable chance that Core Lightning would be scrambling to fix it right now, right? There was some other Blockstream stuff that broke. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Blockstream Electris fork broke on this as well.
Yeah.
I think Electris in general broke.
Yeah.
No.
There you go.
Not the new versions.
I think it was the main line.
I don't think so. Mine didn't.
Just a quick message to the young grasshoppers out there who are very talented at breaking things. Before you break something, especially that affects other people, even if you're entitled or pissed or whatever reason, or it's just for the shits and giggles, just ping an elder. Go find somebody in the community who you respect talent-wise, or just bounce off of them if they think that it's it could have some collateral damage or not. That's all. Just generally speaking, I don't know this specific case how it played out. I think it's going to still take a while to find out. But
yeah, well, and one other point.
If you wanted to add here
is
go on, Stephan. If you wanted to, just go.
Okay, you go.
If you wanted to exploit this to steal funds, you have to be an existing channel partner.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared for it ahead of time to steal funds because you want to broadcast a malicious state after the time lock expires, which is by default is 2 weeks. So I would say, first of all, I don't think we know of any cases of funds lost on the first crash that he did. Obviously, it's a little bit too soon now to know on the second one, and there might be some nodes that are just like not being, there's zombie nodes that are not being updated. Maybe it happens in the future with this one, but funds lost seems like it will be minimal if non-existent. And I will say quietly patching this stuff rather than having a very public collapse of the LND nodes would be less helpful to the long-term health of Lightning than what we saw. Like what we saw basically was a wake-up call to a lot of people.
That's right. It's early. Be loud.
That, we need to be more prepared for adversarial environments. And I think that alone, I think Barack should be applauded for it.
So see, like if you find a bug that there is a problem in ever disclosing the issue, it might be in the interest, like think about like the user base, not your competitors, not like the actual users of the service product or whatever, right? Like what is the most beneficial to them, right? Is it quiet? Is it loud? Like, sometimes a quiet release is it's a better fix, right? Because you could tip off attackers that have absolutely no clue. Half the time the attackers don't know like the extent of a bug, like how far a bug could be exploited, right? Because they're not the makers of the project. So it's just think.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't know, I don't think it's quite fair to say, see, at Lightning Labs, we're not being adversarial enough. I mean, from Recipe's perspective, he's saying, should the alternative be that the library has no DOS or memory exhaustion checks at all? Just trust whatever Bitcoin D gives you, right? Like, is that not being adversarial, right? Like, maybe the argument should just be, well, okay, when they found it out, they should have done a second hotfix straight away, like when AJ Towns disclosed it, as opposed to now when Barack has done this, right?
No, but maybe but see, this is the thing. Maybe they were trying to find a better solution, right? So they wouldn't fix right away with a hot patch. They were just trying to find something better.
To fix in a more elegant way or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, but then you inform the user base saying, hey, listen, we still have an unpatched problem here. Please govern yourself accordingly until we have a patch for this, right?
Yeah. And to add also, in both cases, I mean, yes, they hotfixed up. And let's say if you were malicious, you were trying to exploit this. If you tried this on somebody and then they hotfixed up and then you tried your little malicious thing, they could penalty transaction you, right? So There is a risk there, right? It's not totally... but yeah, I mean, the risk is obviously for unupdated nodes.
But these transactions weren't even related to Lightning, right? Like it took down a Lightning implementation, but in and of themselves, the transactions are like totally independent of any actual Lightning contracts, right? Like,
yes.
But it does show that Lightning is still pretty fragile, right? The implementations, right? It's a second time.
Of the same class of bug, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one other thing I've seen Adam just post this as well. He's saying it actually even impacted the Rust Bitcoin library. So now the Liquid Federation are affected by that bug also. So, this kind of Blockstream conspiracy idea is probably not a good one.
It never was a good one though. I guess it's like if you hadn't put the CLN in the aperture, and I feel like this would be way less of a conversation. I feel like I guess I'm like sort of annoyed that like I'm being asked to like condone this dude's behavior, and I'm like, I don't have anything to do with that guy. And like, frankly, like, I mean, it sucks. And maybe there's other ways that he could have like dealt with finding a bug, but like, I don't know. I'm a little bit of an anarchist. I'm not going to say what someone should or shouldn't do with like knowledge is power. I don't know. If it was my project, I'd want him to come tell us, but
no, I agree. I find like the moral compass is the best way of handling like this kind of situation. Is like really is about collateral effect.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you can feel however you want to feel about the competitor or whatever, but like at least think of the users. That's all I ask, like generally to people who build software, or people who break software for a living. And I'm not saying this case he didn't or did. I don't know enough about the case to know, but just just out there, just think about the user.
And I mean, honestly, guys, like, look, like 2 outages of Lightning in a row, people aren't going to switch Lightning implementations, they're going to abandon Lightning, right? Like,
Yes.
this is like my whole thing about this is like, this is not good for Lightning. Like, I mean, is it maybe good in that like we're patching bugs? Like, yeah, sure. Okay. But like, yeah, I think like as everyone on this call is like already, or like pod has already like talked about, like there's much like less disruptive ways that don't make everyone have to scramble. Like, I don't know, like more people are more likely to put their node away and get off of Lightning, in my opinion, than they are to switch implementation.
This was happening to hardware wallets when we were having like a wallet attack another wallet, like literally like every month a few years ago. Like a lot of people started listening to the Wookiee, you know, the hardware wallets are bad.
Yeah.
Right. So you erode trust in a solution category.
But my point is I think it's still very early for Lightning.
Yes.
I think these kind of public situations kind of set us up on a better foundation before there's large amounts of money on it. I'm not too concerned. If anything, I'm not too concerned about people getting discouraged from using Lightning. I would rather them have proper expectations about what, you know, kind of security guarantees they have and what kind of trade-offs they're making in terms of making sure they have uptime on their node. Now, you got to keep in mind here that like these two bugs basically stopped the Lightning nodes, the LND nodes, from being able to verify anything on chain because they were out of sync on chain. But what was it? Was it like 9 months ago or 10 months ago when we found out all the Lightning implementations weren't checking the chain?
Yeah,
like their most important
so
role.
I think this one, that was the one I think Rusty disclosed, and I think it was relating to the amount
was a few years ago.
in the channel. Nifty,
wasn't
you can probably
that
explain better.
around April this year or something like that?
It was we considered that one a spec level bug because every implementation like followed the spec and the spec didn't say to do it. And so no one did it. So everyone had a bug where like, I think it was that you could lie about how much amount of money you were putting in the output. I think that was it. And so like, you could say it was like
the most important thing.
Yeah. You could say, it was bad. It was really, really bad.
Do you know what's fascinating about this? It's the kind of stuff that like there's probably people exploiting it and nobody ever finds out because there's not enough money.
I think someone wrote like a thing to check it, and I don't think anyone had done it before we like said it was a thing that could happen, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think anyone found it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. How about we talk about Echo version 0.01 released? Open source podcasting 2.0 web player that uses your own node. Uses newly released Lightning Node Connect, LNC. Search and play podcastindex.org. Manage your subscriptions. Send boosts and Boostagram messages to your favorite producers. So I think, Matt, you probably know a bit about this. I see you always chatting with, what's his name?
Well, first of all, I love Kollider.
Yes.
So it's good to see him working in this space. The big standout is that it implements Lightning Node Connect, which he's been heavily involved with, and because he's been consulting for Lightning Labs. So I think it's definitely the first podcasting 2.0 wallet that connects directly to your node using that spec, but it might actually be, or that protocol, but it might be the first public Lightning wallet in general that uses it. Maybe Zeus already supports it. It's his baby. But that's kind of cool because it doesn't rely on Tor and you can connect via remote.
And it's also not in an app.
So you have your node at home, you can connect remotely, and you don't have to do any port forwarding or anything.
Yeah, it's nice to have things working on a browser and a desktop too. You know, like sometimes I just want to listen to something on the web browser.
And also, like if you check the podcast analytics, like when we produce shows, you don't get that much detail on stuff. But one thing you get is what are the players people are using. And by all measures, Fountain is absolutely crushing on the podcasting 2.0 side, where it actually pops up on my different shows. Like I can see like even something like Rabbit Hole Recap, where like the majority of our listeners are not necessarily very technical and most of them listen through Apple Podcasts. I think Fountain's at like 12% of our listener base now, and they're custodial by default and by design. So like I would obviously prefer to see, and on the receiving side, like I receive directly to my node, but the senders are using a custodial solution. So obviously as a proper Bitcoiner, I would like to see more people move to actually using their own node, holding their own keys. And obviously, Evan seems to think that's a priority as well. So it's good to see him working on that.
I only use custodial Lightning, and I am waiting for a press one button solution because I don't want to think or own another project. I am hopeful that something soon will come, especially as Lightning stabilizes a bit. It's one of those things, man. Like I want an easy, don't want to think about solution for Lightning, and I know it's going to come. But
while we have Nifty on, like one feature, we're just going to say feature requests at you that I would love to see is, does Core Lightning just like pop up and tell me someone stole money from me, or do I have to like go through my logs to see if someone stole money from me?
You gotta go look and see if someone stole money. The Bookkeeper, which came out in 12.0, I forget. I think it's in 12.0. The Bookkeeper, if someone you can go see where all your money is and where it's gone and who took it and where it ended up. But you gotta go look for it. You can print out like an income report and it'll tell you like you withdrew like X million dollars off your node yesterday. Won't tell you who or why, but it'll show you like where it went.
I can totally see super amazing attack for Lightning for you responsible white hat out there. Create programs that micro steal from LN nodes. Because like micro stealing in Lightning is going to go completely unnoticed. Completely.
Yeah, that's why I want like a button I can press. I just want to be able to click a button.
Yeah, because I keep on pressing boost and this and that in every fucking thing that I have Lightning on.
Like I just want a button like no one stole my money yet when I check.
Guys, I'm telling you, the Bookkeeper will tell you where all your money is and where it's going. You can check up on it.
Podcasting 2.0 makes it way more difficult because like when I launch, like the days that we launch Rabbit Hole Recap, like my node gets like 5,000 payments in like 24 hours.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
Crazy. Spam as a service.
The kid that figures out how to micro steal from Lightning nodes, like is going to do very well. You take like just like 10, 20 sats from enough people, man, you can pay for all your vices.
It's like the Office Space hack.
Doesn't Nick Szabo talk about this though? I feel like he's got like a pretty old classic blog post about like how micropayments.
The microtransactions.
Yeah.
The mental. So his idea is that the mental accounting costs are greater than what it's worth.
Yeah.
There used to be bank scams that did that. They would just micro steal from people like small enough that the bank doesn't notice.
They wouldn't notice, yeah.
The user doesn't notice, and that's it. Just continues.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Impervious Browser 0.1.2 alpha public for Mac and Linux. A suite of peer-to-peer tools for communication, data transport, and payments built directly into the browser. Secure messaging, group calls, live docs, decentralized identifiers, and Bitcoin Lightning support. Matt, what browser library do they use? Is it Chrome or Firefox?
It's Firefox.
Oh boy, I have opinions about this, but I'll save it for the next release. Very cool that they are trying to do this. I hate the browser.
You hate their browser? You hate Firefox?
No, just the browser.
In general.
You hate browsers.
The browser is as it is. The browser is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Terribly architectured. Like it's like giving root of your computer to like a bunch of crap on the internet. Like it's just it's so bad. And then with that came JavaScript, which is just wonderful. Anyways, I hope that with higher stakes that Bitcoin brings to the browser may improve. The same way we didn't have reproducible builds before Bitcoin. Everything that Bitcoin touches tends to get robbed, and then it tends to improve in security. So hopefully we get browsers to become incredible. Who knows? All right. Alby version 1.18.0. This release integrates Nostr. Allow users to generate keys to use with Nostr. Okay, so this is an Alby release to integrate Nostr. Very cool. Nostr is a very cool protocol. It's like a messaging protocol, secure messaging protocol, really, that a lot of the cool kids are working on now. Have you guys interviewed anybody from Nostr?
No, actually, it probably is time for me to do one. I think, Odell, you've done one with Fiat Jeff.
Yeah, search Citadel Dispatch in your favorite podcast app and then search Nostr. I'm not like Stephan. I can't remember the episode numbers.
But Nostr's like an open source protocol, right?
Yes. It's basically a communication protocol.
Oh, wait. So it's Fiat Jeff, the main maintainer of Nostr?
He's the guy behind it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He's a smart kid.
It's basically Fiat Jeff and JB55.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you should have him on the show. I wanted to have him on the show for the UX thing.
Yeah, I had both him on and JB55 for the Nostr episode.
Okay, we'll include a link to the episode on the notes.
Episode 63.
Okay. Do you guys use Alby?
Yeah, I have it. I like it.
Before we get away from the Nostr thing, this single time in history might be, and I know, like, this is not hopium. Like, I know it's very hard for people, for network effects to move away from centralized social media. But the fact that half the country in America hated the previous Twitter owners and the opposite half hate the current Twitter owners, and they're doing like all these crazy things over there, and who knows what they're going to come up with. Like, this is could be the moment where we actually see like a censorship resistant, relatively sovereign protocol rise up that kind of takes over a significant share of social media.
My view on this is that we haven't seen that yet because, the tech was kind of there. IRC version 3 was supposed to be like ultra federated, but it failed. It's because people want censorship. They just want the censorship that agrees with them. Everybody wants like a bubble, right? In social media. They want to just have a little bit of haters there to remind them how right they are. But people love the stuff. And you can see this with Mastodon, my instance, bitcoinhacker.org, which I don't use it ever. It has been blocked from every single other instance that is not Bitcoin related because, we don't really do moderation. And if you don't have a strong moderation policy, other nodes don't connect with you. And, Mastodon is like, if you think Twitter is woke, Jesus Christ, man, Mastodon is a whole other universe. That's where the furries are. No, seriously, it's something else. But what's cool, though, about at least the rhetoric on the TBD thing and on that other project by the John guy.
Well, first you're talking about Blue Sky.
Synonym.
Synonym? Yeah.
/tags or whatever. Yeah.
So anyways, my point is what I can see a future where we have decentralized social media as long as people can subscribe to censorship programs, right? So, you are a COVID cultist, right? Like you press COVID cult, right? And then boom, your feed is only like perfectly delivered to you within that sort of like mind frame. I think a lot of people want that. People right, left, everybody. Even I like a little bit of, a circle jerk is great. But I think that's just a human problem, not a technology problem. I just hope that we can at least have the rails there between different entities so you don't get fully kicked out.
Mm. Well, that's why I think I'm not, once again, the hopium's not flowing on Blue Sky, but they're like the foundational elements that they published recently, which is essentially being able to own your identity, a public key, private key pair, be able to move that across wherever you want to host it, and then be able to self-host it in a situation where you can't host it on any of the centralized platforms that allow you to host it. That's like the three core ones. But most people will just always be like in the, the largest, most censored one.
Do you guys think it's a problem that like we're seeing too many solutions coming out at the same time as well? That to me, normally is that kind of dilution is how technologies that are networking technologies die. Because there's Nostr, there's TBD, there is the synonym stuff, there's Keet, there is, and I'm sure there's a bunch that I haven't even heard about it. I only know one that actually is successful.
Impervious is using the did spec too.
Sorry?
Impervious is using the did spec too.
Oh, Impervious. There you go. So, the only so far successful one that's not for humans, but it's so good that all the scammers use is TOX, TOX. They use it to control their bot armies and their it's quite amazing. Like, because that protocol is actually like very good, and I think was never properly productized for normies to sort of use it. But anyways, if there is too many solutions out there and they're all like reasonably okay, I think it might just, kind of like Matrix, Discord. It's just too much stuff. Like, and you all you want is your friends to be on the same thing.
Yeah, there's no one. I mean, I think in the same way, it's like you're saying, it's the same problem with 7,000 different chat apps, right? And even today, we're all dealing with so many different, like, people have Telegram, they have Signal, they have, Matrix, they got all these other stuff going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like money, right? Money is a network. You look at, like a network for people to communicate, like you're going to have a bit of Gresham's law there. You're going to have like, people are going to sort of like, stop using the other stuff, give it up. I mean, it doesn't really translate to Gresham's law, but anyways, point is, it has a tendency towards monopoly, right? Because people want to be under the same standard because it removes friction. All right, so fully noted, version 0.4.0, Lightning fast communication to your core node over Nostr. No longer need to store RPC credentials. New service client architecture where fully noted desktop. For best speed, you should be using Bitcoin Core. Ideal use case is, okay, so this is just an explanation. This is not actual release notes. But anyways, it seems like this is the Nostr release. Very cool. Another single source, open source. Fontaine is the maintainer.
Yeah.
Keet now supports Bitcoin. Yay, it's not a shitcoin. You can do Bitcoin on Keet.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it yet. Have you guys tried Keet?
I haven't used it myself, but as I was clicking around, I think you can basically do like LND or C Lightning or Core Lightning, like LND Macaroon or Core Lightning Rune and hook it up that way. So it's not running, you need to be running your own Lightning node and then you hook it with your Keet with like that kind of interface.
Similar to Nunchuk, cautiously optimistic that they're going to release their source relatively soon, but they haven't yet.
Yeah, they said December. So within 2 months, it should be out.
I mean, they have enough competition on this space that I think there's not going to be a huge advantage in keeping it close to prevent the cloners.
Yeah, and it's specifically a product targeting Bitcoiners, asking you to install it on your computer and give it a bunch of permissions. So
it makes it tricky, doesn't it?
It'd be nice.
All right, you can now receive Bitcoin instantly via Lightning on Cash App. That's I haven't looked into the implementation. I'm not sure if it's good or bad or whatever. What's really cool to me is that that's a monumentally large user base now exposed to Lightning.
Yeah.
What's cool is, first of all, it uses LDK. They've used LDK from the beginning for sending support, but now for receiving support as well.
Well, they funded it.
Yeah, but I'm kind of curious on Nifty's opinion because the big thing is that they implemented BIP21 unified QR code. So the user only has one QR code, and if you scan it with an on-chain wallet that doesn't know Lightning, it pays on-chain. But if you scan it with a Lightning wallet, then it pays via Lightning.
That's so fucking cool. I mean,
yep.
It's so fucking cool. I think at some level, like, I know that, like, if you use, like, the Bolt invoices, like, Bolt 11 has, like, a way of doing it. They call it fallback address. So I think at some level, like, it would have been kind of cool if, like, everything moved to Lightning invoices, Lightning invoice maxi. But do you know what, dude? It's so cool that they've got, like, a thing where you can do that and either works and it's a QR code. Like, that's awesome. So, like, yeah, kudos to them for making it happen. Kudos to them for, like, shipping it, receive Bitcoin on Lightning on Cash App. That's, like, it's a huge user base and super great. And, like, we need more wallets that do Lightning. So, yeah, I'm into it. Sounds great.
I mean, especially mainstream ones, right? I mean,
yeah.
Can you imagine if, like, Venmo tomorrow showed up with Lightning or something? It would be huge.
Can I imagine it? No. Would it be amazing? Yeah. Would it be like big? Yeah, totally.
I can imagine it. I think they're going to get forced into it. Like if Cash App starts taking too much of their, people don't know how big Venmo is, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think like the third biggest payment platform for consumers in US nowadays or something.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's huge. And PayPal owns them.
Yeah.
Venmo right now has Bitcoin withdrawal support, which I had to eat my shirt on because I did not think that they were going to allow people to withdraw Bitcoin. So presumably, because it's BIP21 and you don't have to know anything about Lightning to read the QR code because it's backwards compatible, a Venmo user can pay that QR code. Now, they're not paying it via Lightning, but they wouldn't really know any difference anyway. Venmo users can now pay Cash App users.
Yep. I mean, this is how Bitcoin wins, right? Like, I mean, companies like legacy gets forced into this because they will start losing users to Cash App, right? Competition has a tendency to fix these things, and Bitcoin is like better. So, it's a matter of time. All right. Do you guys have any other releases that I might have missed? Because we put this list together quite fast. I might have missed some stuff.
Is it time to go or?
No, we still have a whole other part to this. But if you need to go, it's all cool. We're gonna actually get to your thing as well. So now we have the second part of the show here, the noteworthy news and noteworthy.
Guys, I gotta run. I'm so sorry. I'm like at a conference thing in Italy.
And no worries. Thank you so much for participating and giving us a lot of knowledge about Lightning and the whole issue with that. And you're always welcome.
I appreciate you, Nifty.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Invite me back whenever. Happy to talk about stuff. All right, take care, guys. See ya.
Take care.
Cool. See ya.
All right, so Coinkite branded cards, Sats card for mempool.space and Sparrow are being shipped to them. Well, actually, no, mempool.space is for sale. Sparrow is shipping directly to them. Branded tap signer cards are coming out. PubKey, not for sale, but it's being shipped to them. I think you're going to need it to enter the bar. It's kind of cool. And there's a Nunchuk branded card as well. Bitcoin, Ekasi. They're essentially doing education in South Africa. It's really cool. They're trying to build like a Bitcoin beach of sorts there. I think we sent them some hardware. Those guys are like, they're trying to do Bitcoin Africa spaces on Twitter. They're trying to like pool resources and sort of like put things together. And it's like a nice vibe to it. I don't know how much you guys know about it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on Twitter and I've seen they're doing a bunch of stuff. I know recently, so there was some big news just recently with Pick and Pay in South Africa. So that's apparently a big grocery store there. And the Bitcoin Ekasi guys were out there testing it. So that was cool to see also.
Research in Validity, Rollups on Bitcoin. Yeah, I haven't read this paper. I guess here I'll just read the excerpt from it. We concluded that Validity rollups have the potential to improve scalability, privacy, programmability of Bitcoin without sacrificing Bitcoin's core value of functionality as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. I think this is the old conversation about putting rollups on Bitcoin base layer. You know, never say never, but unlikely. Anyways, have you guys interviewed anybody about this?
No, I actually was thinking about doing it though. I just haven't had the time to really properly read this paper and talk about it. I know in the background, I was actually also chatting with Ruben Thompson also. I know he has spoken about this idea, and I think he came out kind of bearish on the idea. Like he was basically, and he's got some public tweet threads talking about how he was saying, you know, at best, it's like a 2x scaling. It's not really like massive. But I'd be interested to read John Light's one. So this one, the Validity Rollups on Bitcoin paper, to see what he's thinking about it.
Well, look, I have a lot of respect for John, and he's always seemed to be a solid contributor in the space. And he did a really good job with the research. It's very deep. All that said, it does require a protocol change. It requires a soft fork. So
I don't know, man. Like,
try not to pay attention that much.
I never thought that Schnorr and Taproot were coming to Bitcoin. So
I know I was called flat-footed because I was like trying not to pay attention because I was like, it's just a waste of time for now.
yeah.
But then also like, I mean, and Stephan can agree with us. And now that you're a budding podcaster yourself, MVK, you're going to be exposed to this as well. The opportunity for us to just kind of like sit back and not like pay attention to these things and just wait to see if they actually get implemented does a disservice to our audience. So we're forced to.
Oh, I'm not a podcaster.
Yeah, not. Yeah,
I'm just some guy reading the news, reading the
Right.
release notes here without any opinions.
Same.
I'm an industry member,
I'm an industry.
I ship a wallet, and then I come to shit talk and shit post too. Yeah, no, I mean, like maybe one of these days. Anyways, I'll read into it. I'm curious.
It's a cool proposal. It's for scaling is the main goal of it.
Yep.
And the main trade-off is a higher bandwidth requirements. So basically the end result is kind of like the blocks would almost always be full. So we'd be using the max amount of allocated space.
Yeah, so I don't like it already. I want lower bandwidth. Listen, if we make the blocks smaller, I'd be cool with it. I'm seriously, I really think we should go back to the previous block size. I think it was a mistake. We could be broadcasting Bitcoin over AM radio without like any concern for the state, like reasonably low power, and we would have never have to have thought about the internet. I don't know. It's not something I was really paying attention, I guess. What a missed opportunity. All right, so Base58.info Bitcoin Protocol School. I know it's run by Nifty and Sakamoto, and Nifty has abandoned us because clearly we failed at being properly boring. And she teaches people about how Bitcoin transactions work, all with the Bitcoin command line.
If you're interested in moving into Bitcoin, consider Base58. It is a fantastic initiative that her and her team are running. So.
Very cool. All right, Cashu. I absolutely love this project. Bitcoin Lightning Chaumian Ecash wallet and mint. Cashu is Ecash implementation based on David Wagner's variation of Chaumian blinding, token logic based on mini cash description, which implements a blind Diffie-Hellman key exchange schema written down by Ruben Samson. The database mechanics and the Lightning Backed uses parts of LN bits, and it's on pip. It's a pip install Cashu, and I suggested they add it to Brew as well, so that it's part of the OS X package maintaining software, and it's cool.
They added it to LN bits, so it's easy, or they're about to add it to LN bits, so it's really easy to implement for people on the server side in the existing LN bits graphical user interface. This project is pretty cool because it's mostly a one-man operation by Callie. And it almost seemed like he whipped it together in a weekend, and then it got some traction and he continued working on it.
Oh, and he keeps on pushing it. Like, it's amazing. Like, there's always updates and, like, the thing works.
Yeah. At OpenSats, our nonprofit 501c3 initiative for funding developers and other open source contributors, we had a partnership on one initiative with HRF and Strike, where Strike provided money for grants. HRF facilitated it, and then the OpenSats board, which Nifty is on with me, approved whether or not people made the bounty grants. And one of the grants was for Chaumian Ecash, and everyone thought that grant was like basically designed for the mini mint team to win, which already has funding from Blockstream and also has a for-profit business in Fetty that received a bunch of funding itself. And Callie just came out of nowhere, awesome. Whipped this up. Now, it's not federated, so it's not a multi-sig custodian, single sig custodian, but we awarded him half the one Bitcoin grant. And we told him if he implements Tor so that IP addresses are blinded.
He did already.
Yeah, he would get the rest of the grant. And he looks like
he already did it.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to get it. So.
It was a couple days ago, I think, or even more. He was demoing on Twitter how it starts with Tor.
You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it.
You better believe it. Max bidding.
Max bidding.
I don't know. It's just so cool. It's cool to see people shipping. All right. Slashtags.io, which is also part of Synonym. It's an open source protocol for creating pairs-to-pairs applications using Hypercore stack. I still don't understand any of the Synonym stuff, any of this, like, any of their stuff. Like, I really don't get it. I don't see how it works. I mean, to be fair, I have not really looked into it, but does anyone knows how the stuff works?
Well, so they launched the first public release of their wallet app, BitKit, which they don't have an APK out for. So you have to like sign up for beta access through Google Play or Apple App Store. And then they geo-restricted anyone who did that based on their App Store credentials, presumably, because I was using a VPN when I was testing it. So I couldn't use the Lightning functionality because they don't allow US residents to use the Lightning functionality. But supposedly under the hood, that's LDK, and they're restricting it because their default LSP is themselves, and they don't want to provide liquidity to US users. And they said that they're going to open it up to other LSPs, Lightning service providers, in the future for US users and other users. So I only did like a basic test of it, but it seems like they have their own essentially DID spec that's not compatible with the other DID spec that is being championed by Block and Impervious. But it's essentially a private key, public key pair that you can attach a username to. And that's like the base of the whole thing they're trying to build, which is this identity layer that you mix with Lightning payments and presumably token payments.
And this is Bitfinex funded, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a Bitfinex thing. So as I understand, I think it's kind of, I mean, it's not exactly the same as Keet, but the idea is that they're doing this kind of DHT, just like with BitTorrent and things. And so then the idea is that they're going to have this DHT way that people are storing each other's keys. And so then, as I understand as well, then it's the idea is that it would help us negotiate our payments together, kind of like a Paynim competitor in a way, loosely
Isn't
speaking.
that what ZeroNet was doing?
Yeah, I don't know what ZeroNet is, but I mean, as I understand, now I was playing around with BitKit, which is their Bitcoin wallet or Bitcoin toolkit that uses /tags. And so the idea is you can create a contact and whatever, but I was having trouble trying to get on Lightning as well. So I think they still need to iron out a few bugs in terms of how the interrelation works with Blocktank and then BitKit. So Blocktank is the LSP. So LSP is the one that's providing the channel to you.
You also can't send unconfirmed transactions, which is just like a pet peeve of mine. Like I was testing out the wallet. I sent like a million sats into the wallet to test it out. Then I realized the Lightning functionality didn't work. And I was like, before I lose this 1 million sats, because I completely forget it's in the wallet, let me send it out. I had to wait for a fucking confirmation.
Oh, okay.
This is just like a massive pet peeve of mine.
BitKit is the name of a product we used to have at Coinkite.com. It was the name of the API. I might still have some domains.
The domain hoarder wins again, huh?
But anyway, it looks like they're building something kind of cool there. I'm interested to seeing what they have in store for us, but it's not there yet. It's very much beta right now.
So that's interesting. It's just like there is clearly a trend, right? Like in products and services now of people trying to create this sort of like peer-to-peer DID sort of like package of solutions.
Yeah. One cool thing with this is exactly how it should be for any Bitcoin type implementation of DIDs is that everything is derived from your seed phrase. So the user is just backing up their seed phrase.
Right. Yeah. You get your 12 words and you do. Yeah. And then the other cool thing is that the idea is the contacts can update over time. And instead of so the example John gave on stage when he was talking about this over in Lugano is he said, you know how you might have contacts of people from like 10 years ago and it's gone stale? The idea is here, you are updating your own contact record and then other people are just polling you to get the updated one. And so what you'll see in BitKit is this idea that you can put, like, I can put StephanLivera.com or, Matt Odell can put MattOdell.com or whatever. And as things change or other things add in, you can update your own profile. And so let's say if Odell and I have scanned each other's QRs and we're following each other on that, it stays up to date over time. So that's cool.
Yeah. So one thing I wish wallets like systems like they did is they used an index from BIP85 to be the key that's used, because if you use the root key, it's kind of a problem too. You're kind of like stuck with that. You could have issues with portability,
right?
And it's kind of gone in a way if it gets like leaked. So, anyways, it would be nice if you had, because see, if you're using BIP85, you could have, say, for example, use index one. Oh, index one got burned, right? You could do a key revocation of key to the network, saying now move to this new key, right? Without changing the seed private key, which is kind of cool. I think a lot of projects don't think about key revocation as much as they should, because you're gonna have issues. Yeah. BIP85, guys, just look into it. It's so simple.
I think, but the thing we see in this space also is we get this NIH, not invented here syndrome. So I think a lot of people all want to invent their own thing, and that then stops a bit of collaboration where otherwise it might have happened.
Yeah. Coinbase-Backed anti-money laundering group expands into Europe. Yay! The bad actors never stop being bad actors, huh? They just metastasize. Coinbase being a terrible Bitcoin citizen since the very first day.
The thing that pisses me off the most about this is they named it Trust, which is an acronym.
Oh, totally. Like that's like, they clearly have government, like really high quality government assholes in there, right? Because these are the people who name bills in Congress, kind of thing. Like
the Patriot Act.
They're very good at the acronyms.
Yeah, they're the opposite of what they name it, right? So.
Exactly. And they also took coin as their stock symbol.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of this seems related to the travel rule. Obviously, the acronym is Travel Rule Universal Solution. So basically, it's about travel rule compliance, and it relates to all these crypto exchanges who want to exchange customer data before there's any transactions going between them.
Yeah, these companies are so funded, so well funded. They're like, I just wish they fought a little harder. I totally get it, right? You're trying to be a business, being pragmatic there, sure, you're going to have to play the regulators. You have no choice. You don't want to go to jail. But come on, man, fight a little harder, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see as well. And I did an episode recently, I think 424 off the top of my head, with this guy, Simon Lelyveld. He's a Dutch expert in this area in terms of the regulation, and he's trying to fight them back.
I heard that one.
Yeah. And, there are ways that maybe people could sue them, or at least try to...
put up a fight.
Like, what if the industry got together and put up some money and sued these regulators, or sued these, to try to at least push back in some way, I think we could see something like that.
But see, the problem is they know that if they fight a little bit, their licenses get delayed. They don't get issued.
Well, it's not even that. They pick their battles. They've been fighting for years and spent, countless, insane amounts of money to be able to dump shitcoins on retail.
Yeah.
But they just don't, they're like, okay, we'll give them the privacy card. We'll let them surveil all of our users as long as we can, help facilitate our partners dumping massive bags of pre-mined shitcoins on our users.
Yeah. Fuck Coinbase. Popular Lightning analytics company Amboss launches controversial data sharing feature that threatens Lightning privacy. That sounds like not great, but also sounds a little bit like a bit of gaslighting the privacy on Lightning. Do you guys know much about this?
I saw some discussion. I'm kind of I think the Lightning network, it arguably doesn't need this yet, but it depends. Maybe people have to get clear on what they want it, right? Like if they want Lightning purely to be about payments and not about privacy, then maybe that's the path they go. But I mean, the idea is, I'm kind of hopeful that Lightning can help people's privacy, and so. Yeah, that's why I'm probably against this, to be honest. But I'd want to sort of hear more of the arguments.
Yeah. So the crux of this is right now on on Lightning, the way Lightning is set up, a malicious user can probe your channels. They can send fake payments through your channels. And as a result, they can figure out your local and your remote balance. So the publicly gossiped information is your total capacity. There's a 1 million sat channel between these two nodes. But what's not publicly gossiped is this node has 200,000 sats on their side and the other node has 800,000 sats on their side. But you can get that information by doing malicious probing, where you're sending probes that are essentially payments that you know are going to fail. And as a result, you can actually determine private channels as well. And you can connect those private channels with the UTXOs that opened them in the first place, bringing them back on chain. The UTXOs that are attached to your public channels are part of the gossip. People already can figure that out, and they can also figure out the private channels. Now, what Amboss is doing is basically making it so node operators can then provide that information without probing live, constantly and consistently, that actual breakdown of their channels. And as a result, then payments can be more easily tracked through this data set. And, they're a centralized company. It's obviously a massive honeypot, but there's also another piece of this puzzle that makes it slightly more concerning to me, which is Amboss also has their own Lightning liquidity marketplace called Magma, and node providers that provide that information is a strong incentive for people to use them as their liquidity providers, because you don't want liquidity from someone that doesn't have a bunch of inbound, because otherwise they're selling you liquidity they don't really have. So people that opt into this surveillance feature will get financially rewarded for it, and people that don't will get financially penalized for it. And yes, I think there's a strong argument that, okay, this information should already be treated as public because anyone can probe you. And I've said many times that people should basically, especially if you're a less technical user, you should just assume that all the Bitcoin you put into a Lightning node is connected to each other. Like, you should operate under that assumption. But really what we should want to see in Lightning development is making probing more difficult and making this stuff, this information more difficult to get without consent, rather than just throwing in the towel and being like, people can already get this information, so let's completely collect it in a centralized database. And I will just add one more thing to it. This should be part of the Lightning threat model from the very beginning. It's something I've talked about many times, which is that these large Lightning node operators are going to monetize their data.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to sell it to other people. They might get compelled by governments to provide the data. Like, they're massive data honeypots, all these routing nodes. And it should be built into essentially the Lightning threat model when these systems are designed, that many of them will be selling this information, and to plan accordingly.
All right. This sounds more like a press release. Kollider raises money. Unless you guys have some interest in this, I'll skip.
The cool part about the Kollider news is it's essentially, it offers a similar functionality as something like BitMEX, where you can leverage trade in your browser. All deposits and withdrawals are Lightning by default.
Cool.
So that's that piece. But one of the cool parts about it is they also have a wallet product, and the wallet product basically uses the liquidity from their exchange to let you peg into different balances, whether that's US dollars or euros or pretty much anything they allow trading on the exchange in the future. So to a user, they're just depositing sats and they're showing a USD balance, but Kollider doesn't have to have a bank account with anyone or any kind of fiat rails, because essentially on the back end, they're hedging it with a short on Bitcoin to give you that fiat peg, which is clever.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea, like that people now, maybe we wouldn't really use it, but maybe if you're in the developing world and you can't otherwise access USD or Euro, maybe it makes sense for you to take with a small position, okay, I'm going to put some in and have it as a USD synthetic and then just pull it out when I need that. So I think it's interesting from that point of view. We are seeing other approaches there as well. So for example, stablesats.com, like that's the website for the Gallo money, and they're doing kind of a similar thing. I think they might potentially be collaborating with Kollider. So from that point of view, it could be interesting. Though, of course, if you just want to stay Bitcoin only, that's totally cool.
Cool. All right, so this story was funny. So it's probably the false flag. The story is the Chinese intelligence arm there apparently got caught paying or about to be paying some plant in the the FBI, I think, the FBI in Bitcoin, and they got caught. So I don't know. I am very skeptical that this is not.
Okay, you completely butchered the story.
Okay, well, thank you.
2 Chinese intelligence officials contacted an FBI double agent and tried to get files for the pending Huawei case. Huawei is one of the largest Chinese firms. That Huawei constantly claims they're not connected to the Chinese government.
They're the Chinese government. That's what Huawei is.
They want to build all of our infrastructure in the West. And this clearly shows the connection, but anyone who's not a fucking idiot already knew that was a connection. The false flag component is that double agent was paid in Bitcoin. And so I actually think
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but my belief is
that's what I said.
My belief is the Chinese intelligence officials' part was not a false flag. They actually wanted those files. And then the FBI double agent says, "Okay, well, you need to pay me in Bitcoin."
Oh, sure. Yes.
So they can tie Bitcoin into the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And to top off the false flag, the intelligence agents
used
Wasabi. So it's like, okay, so they're using like a Bitcoin privacy tool to do this. So like we need to not only go after Bitcoin, but we also need to go after Bitcoin privacy tools. It's like a perfect combination.
I didn't see a lot of mainstream pickup on this story. There was no CNN Bitcoin used by Chinese spies. None of that.
It was broken by who? Like Forbes, or it was one of the mainstream.
So the story was totally fed. I can't imagine Forbes having investigative journalism about something like this. Come on, like it doesn't get more bullshit than that.
Yeah, it looks like it was mainly on crypto news sites.
The U.S. Treasury released like they do like big polished press releases, and they did a huge release on this one.
All right. Coin Center is suing OFAC over its Tornado Cash sanction. That's great.
Good to see.
It's nice to see them do something that is not shitcoin only. Well, I mean, I guess it is shitcoin related. That's probably why they're doing it. But, this case will have a lot of precedents that will affect Bitcoin for sure.
Holy shit.
What?
While we've been on air, the Liquid Federation got taken down by Barack's.
No, I mentioned that.
Nice. So clearly not a Blockstream paid goon.
I mentioned that earlier in the.
I missed that.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Basically, remember, because I was saying this is also why it's unlikely that it was some big Blockstream conspiracy, right? Because clearly they're not going to take down their own stuff, right?
That's hilarious.
So, but nobody uses Liquid, right?
So he took down. Well, forget about the conspiracy of Blockstream paying him off. His own project, BitMatrix, runs on Liquid, so he took down his own. He took down his own project.
Well, I guess that's NVK's point about collateral damage, right? And I'm seeing on Twitter now, a lot of people are saying their Electras is down also. So, I think Barack should really reconsider his approach and go for more of a responsible disclosure approach next time.
But my Electras didn't go down.
Yeah, maybe only some people. I don't know.
For now. Maybe you're running behind on blocks. You never know.
No, it's chain tip based on Wiz's mempool.
He was 6 blocks behind in Europe.
But don't forget, even mempool.space had some other unrelated issue. I think they had a server run behind.
No, that happens to us also. Like, from time to time, our store node will be behind, a few blocks, just for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay, but is that the chain tip of my Bitcoin core node as well? Like my Electros didn't go down. My understanding before we went on air was that Blockstream maintains a separate Electros fork, and that's the one that went down. But I don't know. Don't just verify. My Electros was fine.
I think it's going to take a few days for people to truly sort out sort of like the amount of damage.
Sort out all the collateral damage. Because I saw BTC Sessions tweeted something, and some people in the comments were saying it could be that. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Hey, Shinobi is tweeting that Barack did nothing wrong. This is gonna get fun. Okay, public miners' share of Bitcoin hash rate skyrocketing. I mean, this is pretty expected. They are highly capitalized, and one way you can find cheap credit is by going public. You know, in a bear market scenario, whoever can find cheaper capital will have an upper hand. But you know, aside from the FUD, I'm not very concerned about public miners. They will stabilize a bit later when the market improves a little.
Yeah.
I think we're going to find more independent miners doing better. I also know of miners that might go public soon too. So yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, some of them stretch. I mean, that's not unusual historically, right? Like that miners overstretch in the bull cycle and then get wrecked in a bear. I mean, that's the cycle. It's a tough game. Yeah.
The tale as old as time.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm sorry. I've got to drop. It's getting a bit late for me, but I will catch you all soon, okay?
Take care, Livera.
Much love.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Okay, so I have one left here.
So am I a guest or am I a co-host? That's the question.
No, you're a guest, so you get to drop.
Sorry, MBK. I have to drop. Something came up. I have to go. Thanks again for having me.
All right, we're almost done here. World's largest Bitcoin mining firm, Core Scientific, says it may run out of cash. I think this is all beaten to death.
Yeah, it just looks like they're going to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah. You know, margin squeeze on miners is a known way that miners fuck with other miners for since the beginning of times too. Also, remember when miners used to sell in the dip to force miners to not be able to stick around?
Yep. Survival of the fittest. Bitcoin will be fine.
Yep. Hodlnaut defeats Craig Wright. Everybody talked about this already.
No, but the one thing no one's talked about yet, because it happened yesterday, was Snowden.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Used Hodlnaut's case to just completely shred CSW on Twitter publicly.
Unhappy corn cob or something like that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, that was beautiful. And also Snowden is in Russia, right? So, you know, good luck to Craig Wright in this legal environment to try to sue Snowden in Russia.
Well, yeah, Craig was like, I'm going to try and get you drafted into the... Like, who the fuck do you think you are? But I will say that I think this is a perfect example of people saying, you know, obviously I was one of the people involved with the initiative to raise funds for Hodlnaut's case, so he didn't lose his fucking house over it. And a lot of people said, first of all, I wasn't trying to really raise from plebs. Like if plebs wanted to contribute, they're welcome to contribute. We love all contributions, but it was mostly focused on whales and big companies. But people kept saying like, okay, so what are the implications of this? Like, does Craig disappear, blah, blah, blah. And this is a perfect example of one of the side implications that no one really thinks about, where you have someone that has a massive platform like Snowden, basically tearing him to shreds based on the court ruling.
Yeah, because now you can't argue that, right? Like, I mean, and the thing is, when it comes to this kind of case of slander and things like that, if more people get away with calling him out, even if he's right in some countries, that builds precedent that is normal to call him out in public, right?
Exactly.
And those things will be used as evidence in court. Look, everybody calls him a fraud. I was just joining the bandwagon. You know what I mean? Like you can't sue anymore. I mean, this guy really is with the. I mean, this case was a big deal. He really turned the tide around, and I think his days are pretty much counting now, right? Like he's soon not going to be able to sue anyone. If anything, people might start suing him. That'll be pretty funny.
That'd be great to see.
What else? So Biden administration wants to make it easier to seize Bitcoin. You know, like it's idiotic change. I think was it a report or did they try to put it in law already?
So it's buried 61 pages into a proposal. Basically, I think most of the listeners probably already know what civil asset forfeiture is, where law enforcement agencies are able to just take money from you and other assets like your car and stuff without due process and without a judge. And then you basically have to try and win it back after the case. Now, civil forfeiture lets you take up to $500,000 worth of assets. Well, this is going to put a carve out for cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin. So they can civil asset forfeiture as much money as they want, including above 500K. And then you're going to have to go to court. And obviously, like, Bitcoin is seizure resistant by design, but this basically just sends the legal framework for them to seize stuff.
It's funny though. Like, I bet that the law already sort of like covered taking your Bitcoin from you in a civil asset forfeiture scenario. If it covers taking a car or your chickens, they probably already covered that. So I think it's just them posturing about Bitcoin. I don't think it has any sort of like actual difference in what they were going to do anyways.
Well, the main difference is over 500K. Now they can take over 500K.
Wow.
Without a judge.
Yay.
Previously, they needed a judge to do that.
Wonderful. Bitcoin Mining Council, Marty's favorite, a voluntary global forum of Bitcoin mining companies and other Bitcoin companies in the Bitcoin industry, announced findings of its third quarter survey.
They surveyed all their members. Which represent nearly 50% of hash rate, which should be concerning to people.
Yeah.
About renewable energy, because like their main fight is, that Bitcoin is pro-renewable.
It's hard to fight the war of the culture war on energy.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin uses less than 1% of the world's energy right now, and people are still losing their shit. So
I know. Imagine when he uses half. Is it 2 years from now?
A lot of people I ask think like it'll never go over 1%, which I find hard to believe.
It's possible. It's possible that doesn't. I mean, because consumption of energy also grows, so the 1% gets bigger.
But you agree with me. So you're on my side. You think it'll be significantly more than 1% in like 10 years, 20 years?
It will. It will. It will.
Nice. I'm going to let Marty know that you agree with me and not him.
Yeah, it will. Because, if we keep on going on this train of stupid where the world does not substantially increase energy use, which it should, like the way you measure a society's progress is by how much energy they use. They should be using a lot more. If you ask a person in a country that's poor what they want a washing machine. You know what I mean? They want to use energy to wash their clothes, right? And who are you to judge them for it, right? Like, you are washing your clothes. I want my money to be used in energy. I mean, who are you to say? Anyways, it's a pointless discussion, and I don't think that people on the other side are intellectually honest. Anyways, right? So they don't want to have the discussion.
Yeah, there's no intellectual honesty. They don't care.
No, zero. So like, the BMC thing is, I get it, right? I mean, like, the miners also don't want to be on the receiving end of a bunch of bad PR, especially if they're public companies. So like, they're going to band together and they're going to try to fight it back. If it's with like also intellectually dishonest arguments or not, that's besides the point. But they need some narrative to push out because they want people to buy their stock. And this is all part of the game, right? I mean, Bitcoin doesn't exist in a world that wants it, right? The fiat world does not want Bitcoin to succeed. So we're going to have to fight in many different ways. And some of those ways are not going to be some of us may not like it. All right. I won't go over the Bitcoin uptake. It's getting late. And, there's a lot of conversations about transaction replacement options because of the zero conf stuff and the change in policy to be the default. Validity rollups research that we mentioned earlier. NBD, which is, I talked to Nevis. They are doing their open source initiative. There's a bunch of stuff going on there.
Love to see it.
The Cashu got mentioned. And Sparrow launches also an address explorer, an open source one, which is kind of cool. And also Zero Sync project.
What did you think about their hardware wallet? We have that on the list.
It's not my aesthetic. It's like, it looks like a weird French style. But again, like, these guys are not like flying, by the seat of their pants. Like they are doing user research. They are doing market research, so there must be a market that wants something that looks like that makes those trade-offs. I've talked to them in private before. They were generally trying to understand how to make a good wallet. There's this whole thing that I really dislike where like, essentially you have like two entities that is not you holding the two keys out of the three. So technically they could just take the money. I think it would be very bad PR, and I don't think they're going to do that. But the opening is there, so if they designate you as a carbon terrorist, they will take your money back probably, or they'll be forced to. That ultimately is the problem, right? No executive wants to go to jail, so they could be forced into that. But ultimately, I think Block, Square, Sparrow, whichever is the main name now, it has the heart in the right place within the constraints of being a massive payments company in a very complicated space. They are making good things that are for Bitcoin.
I will say that I love that they're like documenting all this with very detailed blog posts.
Yeah, it's production porn. The devil is on the details, and sometimes those are not published. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see like the final product or like the thing that they actually intend to ship, and see how that really plays out. But it's cool. And, it's nice to have a lot of budget to do a lot of physical product development. All right. Competitions. Legends of Lightning. There is another global tournament, I think, to build things, kind of like a hackathon of things.
For design.
No, the Legends of Lightning is design as well?
I believe so.
Well, people should click on our show notes. There is a link there. You can go find out.
Oh, no. It's more than that. Yeah, you're right. It's like a full-on hackathon style.
Yeah.
But over a longer term, they want people more engaged.
Yeah, and then on the events, November 5th, Bitcoin for India. I should be speaking on that remotely. I think you are too.
Indeed.
Pacific Bitcoin, November 10 to 11. Adopting Bitcoin, 15 to 17 in El Salvador. Africa Bitcoin Conference, December 5th to 7th in Ghana. So yeah, Matt, any final thoughts?
No, this is a good rip as always. I enjoyed it.
It was fun. It's fun to exhaust the topics, even though we may exhaust some of the guests. I feel like it's important to go through all the things. Otherwise, it's just too sort of superficial. So you can find me on Twitter at NVK. You can find Matt on Twitter at Odell.
Yes, sir.
If you want to contribute and you're very knowledgeable of GitHub Actions, check out the bitcoinbinary.org. I'm trying to stay hands off, and there is a couple folks there sort of like looking into solutions for our problems. And I think this is it.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, I think it should go without saying, but we try our best. We're not perfect. And if we get anything wrong, let us know and we will correct it. We will correct it next time.
Oh, we have that right at the end of the notes. Did I get anything wrong above? Help me correct it. And that email goes to producer@coinkite.com, which is Johnny, our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful producer here. And guys, we are happy to correct ourselves on the next episode, even though we're probably right and you're wrong. But we love you. Thank you so much for listening.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to get in touch on Twitter at Bitcoin.Review HQ, or the Telegram Bitcoin Review Pod, or email bitcoinreview@coinkite.com. Remember, I don't have a crystal ball, so if you have a cool project you're working on, do make sure to get in touch with us. And if you're still not bored, you can follow me on Twitter at NVK.